We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Ukraine to get Patriot and HIMARS missiles in first US weapon supply under new mechanism. Aid to be first use of the PURL mechanism in which Ukraine's allies help pay for weapons. King Charles and Trump hail UK-US special relationship in state banquet speech. Trump says the word special does not begin to do it justice. US to invest £150 billion in UK, promising thousands of jobs. 3 police officers killed, 2 injured in Pennsylvania shooting. Police kills shooters in one of the deadliest days for Pennsylvania police this century. India's ace athlete Neeraj Chopra is set to play in the Javelin throw final at the World Athletic Championship on Thursday. And on to the details now. Ukraine will get missiles for Patriot air defense systems and HIMARS rocket launchers in the first batch of weapons sent under a new funding program agreed upon by the US and Ukraine's European allies. Ukraine has secured over $2 billion in financing for US-produced weapons via the NATO-led Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PURL. President Volodymyr Zelensky expects total committed funds to reach $3.5 billion in October. NATO allies hope to provide $10 billion in arms for Ukraine. HIMARS are ground-launched rocket-propelled artillery that have been crucial to Ukraine's fight with Russia. Well, US President Donald Trump has long been critical of the billions of dollars the United States has spent on military aid for Ukraine. The PURL initiative offers a way for Europe to pay for the weapons and the US to send them.
We
received more than $2 billion from our partners under PURL program. During October, I think we will receive an extra funding. I think we will have in total around $3.5 to $3.6 billion. Regarding the first 2 packages, each worth $500 million. I understood you asked what those packages will include. I will not disclose all the details, but they will definitely include missiles for Patriot and HIMARS systems.
Moreover, amidst growing tensions in Russia-Ukraine conflict, Denmark said it will, for the first time, acquire long-range precision weapons, citing the need for deterrence capabilities in light of the threat from Russia.
For the first time, Denmark will build up military capacity in the form of long-range precision weapons. This is a paradigm shift in Danish defense policy. With these weapons, the armed forces will be able to hit targets at long range and, for example, also defeat enemy missile threats. This is a type of weapon that we do not have in Denmark.
Well, NATO forces put on a display of firepower in Poland on Wednesday with tanks, helicopters and jets taking part. The exercise, codenamed Iron Gate, coincide with the joint Russian-Belarusian Zapad drills across the border in Belarus. The Polish military said the exercise is part of a wider series of drills called Iron Defender, focused on the ability to defend Poland in the event of an attack from the east. Iron Gate features both Polish and allied troops, including the US Army's V Corps, which has its forward headquarters in Poland. Well, the world leaders gather in New York next week for a UN General Assembly. Before the General Assembly's speeches begin on September 23rd, leaders will gather a day before for a summit hosted by France and Saudi Arabia that aims to build momentum towards a 2-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians. Well, in all, the high-level week will be dominated by Trump's return to the rostrum, war in Gaza and Ukraine, rising Western recognition of Palestinian statehood and nuclear tensions with Iran. Speaking ahead of the start of high-level week, UNGA President Annalena Baerbock underscored the importance of the UN Charter, the organization's founding document, and the need for reform and greater inclusivity.
it is crystal clear that international humanitarian law calls for the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure. They must be protected always. And I've been also crystal clear on that one in the past, in the speeches, but I'm here again, that civilians must not be targeted. Full stop.
Well, US President Donald Trump on Wednesday hailed the special relationship between his country and Britain as he paid a gushing tribute to King Charles during his historic second state visit, calling it one of the highest honors of his life. Well, King Charles and the royal family hosted a lavish banquet for Trump and his wife Melania at Windsor Castle, where he was treated to the full array of British pageantry, from a carriage procession and a lavish banquet. The King's speech at the dinner for 160 guests emphasized the deep connections between the two countries and the need to maintain cultural, trading and military links. In his address, Trump also praised British heritage and shared values.
We're joined by history and fate, and by love and language, and by transcendent ties of culture, tradition, ancestry, and destiny. We're like two notes in one chord, or two verses of the same poem, each beautiful on its own, but really meant to be played together. The bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It's irreplaceable and unbreakable, and we are, as a country, as you know, doing unbelievably well.
Well, the state visit will continue on Thursday, including Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales at events with the First Lady Melania Trump. It will move from a royal spectacle to political talks and a news conference as Trump travels to meet Prime Minister Keir Starmer at his country house, Chequers. Well, the British government announced a record-breaking $204.87 billion package of US investment into the UK during Trump's state visit. The government said US companies had pledged a record-breaking sum as part of Donald Trump's state visit. The figure, which Britain said was the largest commercial investment package generated by any state visit, was announced ahead of Trump's meeting with Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Well, ministers claim the package will create more than 7,600 high-quality jobs, revitalize communities and accelerate growth in sectors of the future. The total includes a previously reported £100 billion long-term investment pledge from private equity firm Blackstone and £3.9 billion from Prologis in life sciences and advanced manufacturing. And Pennsylvania governor and police officials briefed the media after a shooting in the Cotteris Township, Pennsylvania. Briefing the media, State Police Commissioner Christopher Paris said 3 law enforcement officers were killed and 2 others were injured on Wednesday. Well, according to the officials, investigation is underway and that there was no ongoing threat to the public.
I can confirm that the shooter is dead. I can confirm that there were 5 law enforcement officers who were shot today. 3 fatally, 2 that were transported here to Wellspan in York. They are currently listed in critical but stable condition. There are simply no words that I can offer to assuage the grief that this community has experienced and unfortunately will continue to experience. The grief will be unbearable, but we will bear it.
Well, a Florida man was executed by lethal injection in the southern U.S. state on Wednesday for the murder of his wife's sister and her parents. Well, David Pittman became the 12th person executed in Florida this year and the 31st in the United States, which is the most since 2014 when 35 inmates were put to death. Florida has carried out the most executions, followed by South Carolina and Texas with 4 each. 26 of this year's executions have been carried out by lethal injection, 2 by firing squad and 3 by nitrogen hypoxia. Well, Pittman was sentenced to death in 1991 for the 1990 murders of Bonnie Knowles, the sister of his estranged wife, and her parents. They were stabbed to death and their home was then set on fire. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Brazil's Bolsonaro discharged from hospital. Test shows clearly early type of skin cancer. Venezuela launches Caribbean military drills amid tensions with the US. And Indonesia celebrates 75 years of diplomatic ties with Thailand at Culture Night 2025.
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur that is Odisha. Experience immortal spirituality and timeless architecture that perfectly reflects the artistic soul of India. Get swept by its sun-kissed beaches. Take a walk on a bed of golden sand. Witness aquatic wonders. Exotic wildlife. Odisha is home to an enduring cultural legacy. Vibrant and colorful festivals. Captivating folk dances. Excellence in arts and crafts. With flourishing eco-tourism. With fast developing infrastructure. Odisha is set for a promising new future. Welcome to India's best kept secret.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was discharged from the hospital on Wednesday, where he had been admitted due to vomiting, dizziness and low blood pressure a day earlier. Brasilia's DF Star Hospital stated Bolsonaro's health condition improved, but he will continue to receive follow-up care. Bolsonaro's doctor, Claudio Berolini, confirmed the test revealed 2 skin lesions were an early form of skin cancer, specifically squamous cell carcinoma. He confirmed that the skin lesions have been removed, but regular checkups are necessary to monitor for any new lesions. Bolsonaro was sentenced to 27 years in prison by a Supreme Court panel for conspiring to stage a coup following his loss in the 2022 election. And plane maker Embraer stated that its plants in Brazil were operating normally on Wednesday despite the announcement of an indefinite strike for higher salaries by union metal workers. Well, the Metal Workers Union in São Jose dos Campos, home to Embraer's headquarters and main jet production, went on strike over the company's refusal to grant a real wage increase. Well, the Sind Metal Union stated that FISP, which represents the aerospace sector, proposed only a 5.05% wage increase based on inflation, along with reduced job stability for injured or ill workers. The union rejected the offer and demanded an 11% wage increase. As a result, a strike notice was approved. Embraer reported that it was surprised by the strike as negotiations were still ongoing. And Cuba has called on the United Nations to stop the U.S. from increasing military presence in the Caribbean, warning it could lead to a war. Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez slammed U.S. strikes on Venezuelan boats and called the drug trafficking excuse ridiculous. He blamed harsh U.S. sanctions for Cuba's worst economic crisis in decades, with shortages and inflation hitting hard. The UN has repeatedly urged the U.S. to lift sanctions, but tensions continue to grow, especially with Venezuela, Cuba's closest ally.
The interception and destruction of boats, the extrajudicial killing of civilians, the interception of fishing vessels and aggressive actions by the United States in the Eastern Caribbean create a dangerous situation that threatens regional peace and security. I reiterate Cuba's unconditional solidarity with President Nicolas Maduro, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and the civil-military union of its people.
Well, Argentina's lower house of Congress voted to overturn President Milei's vetoes on increased funding for public universities and pediatric hospitals, marking a major setback to his austerity agenda. Well, to fully overturn President Milei's vetoes, the Senate must also vote to override them. Milei claimed the laws would harm fiscal stability, but lawmakers opposed his austerity measures. The move follows a massive protest in Buenos Aires, where tens of thousands demanded more funding for universities and pediatric care. The defeat adds to Milei's mounting challenges, including falling popularity, a corruption scandal, and a recent electoral loss. And Chile's presidential election kicked into high gear on Wednesday as leading campaigns officially launched ahead of a November 16 poll. Left-wing Junt Jaira and conservative Jose Antonio Cast, who lost the last runoff against current President Gabriel Boric in 2021, are top contenders, frequently trading leads and clashing in the first debate among 8 candidates. 8 candidates are in the race, including Evelyn Matthei from the Independent Democratic Union Party. Matthei is currently polling third at 18% in pollster Cadam's largest numbers released on Sunday. Security remains a score point with many voters. If no candidate receives more than 50% of the votes on November 16, there will be a runoff on December 14th. And Venezuela said on Wednesday it had begun 3 days of military exercises on its Caribbean island of La Orchila as tensions soar amid U.S. military activity in the region. Defense Minister Vladimir Pedrino Lopez said the 3-day drills were ordered by President Nicolas Maduro. Public television showed images of ambitious amphibious vessels and warships deployed off La Orchila, where Venezuela has a military base. Video also depicted amphibious tanks landing on the beaches of La Orchila and soldiers securing positions. Well, the armed forces said the exercises involved 12 ships, 22 aircraft and 20 small boats from the Special Naval Militia. La Orchila Island is close to the area where the U.S. intercepted and held a Venezuelan fishing vessel for 8 hours over the weekend. And Venezuela's Interior Minister Cabello claims the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, staged a false flag operation to discredit the country. Well, on September 17th, Venezuelan forces seized 3,680 kilos of cocaine, a speedboat, fuel, satellite gear and mobile phones, arresting 4 suspects. According to Caballos's claims, one detainee, Levi Enrique, had ties to the DEA and the group was instructed to carry Venezuelan ID cards to frame the nation. As tensions continue to rise with the US, Caballo further alleged the truck bust was a deliberate attempt to target Venezuela, accusing Washington of using anti-narcotics efforts as a cover for aggression. While China's defense minister on Thursday urged greater efforts for global unity, warning against an increasingly divided world defined by the rule of the jungle. Speaking to formally open the Beijing Shenzhen Forum on Security, Zhong Jun said the world was overshadowed by Cold War thinking, hegemony and protectionism, a veiled swipe at the United States. Most Western nations have sent relatively low-level diplomatic representatives to the forum, with some saying they are seeking to learn more about China's ongoing military build-up and opaque military leadership. The remarks come amid simmering tensions between China, the US and its allies and partners over flashpoints across East Asia, including Taiwan and the South China Sea. And Bangladesh is grappling with a severe outbreak of dengue fever, with hospitals across the country struggling to cope with the rising number of patients. Health authorities have reported a surge in cases over the past few weeks, particularly in Dhaka and other major cities. The Directorate General of Health Services on Tuesday issued a 12-point directive asking hospitals to prioritize dengue treatment as hospitalizations and deaths from the infections were rising across the country. The DGHS has confirmed that at least 156 people have died and 39,192 others have been admitted with the mosquito-borne viral disease this year. Since January, officials warned that the situation may worsen as the monsoon season provides ideal breeding conditions for the Aedes aegypti mosquito, the primary carrier of the virus. Hospitals are facing pressure, with many wards overcrowded, forcing patients to share beds or receive treatment in corridors. Authorities have intensified awareness campaigns and mosquito control drives, urging citizens to eliminate stagnant water around homes and workplaces. And in Nepal, the Speaker of the Bagmati Province Assembly, Bhuvan Kumar Pathak, has resigned from his post today. He submitted his resignation letter to the Deputy Speaker, Apsara Shapekain. Speaker Pathak has mentioned in his resignation letter that he's tendered resignation from his post in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of Nepal and the Provincial Assembly Rules 2074 BS. He said that he had announced his intention to resign on social media on September 9th itself, stressing that continuing in office would be inappropriate amid public grief and against the sentiments of the youth. But because the formal process resignation got delayed, Pathak was elected to the Provincial Assembly from the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. In western Japan's Ehime Prefecture, foreign residents joined a local event where they rode oversized wooden hangiri buckets on water. The activity held in Masaki town aimed to introduce foreigners to local traditions. 15 participants from 10 countries tried maneuvering the giant tubs, with many tumbling into the water, sparking laughter and fun. While the Langkar art exhibition is being celebrated in Indonesia's Banjarmasin, South Kalimantan, as part of the Cultural Park Work Meeting. The showcase features works by 95 artists from regions across Indonesia. The 4-day program includes a visual art exhibition, cultural parade, dialogue sessions and art performances from 21 cultural park representatives. Iraq's Duhok is set to host the 18th Grape and Honey Festival, celebrating the harvest and supporting local farmers. The two-day event will showcase grapes, natural honey and other crops from around 50 farmers and beekeepers. Known for its fertile soil and rich produce, Duhok remains a leading hub for grape production in the Kurdistan region. The Indonesian embassy in Bangkok marked 75 years of Indonesia-Thailand ties with the Indonesia Culture Night 2025. The event featured traditional music and dances. Over 200 Indonesian artists performed for 1,000 guests, including senior Thai officials. And still to come in DD India News. India celebrates Yatri Sewa Diwas with health camps, blood donation and cultural festivities at the airports nationwide. PM Modi's Digital India transforms 140 crore lives from remote villages to smart cities. All India Institute of Ayurveda hosts bike rally in New Delhi to promote health and sustainability.
गर फिरदौस बर्रुए ज़मीं अस्त हमी अस्तो हमी अस्तो हमी अस्त Jammu and Kashmir, nature's finest works. A land of verdant valleys, pristine lakes, striking autumns, unforgettable majestic beauty. A place of unwavering devotion, wholehearted smiles, and warm hospitality. World famous for its exquisite artistry. Leader in diverse agricultural products. Heartland of winter sports. Jammu and Kashmir is vibrant, diverse, ambitious, future-focused, full of life. Welcome to heaven on earth.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Ukraine to get Patriot and HIMARS missiles in first US weapon supply under new mechanism. Aid to be first use of the PURL mechanism in which Ukraine's allies help pay for weapons. King Charles and Trump hail a UK-US special relationship in state banquet speech. Trump says the word special does not begin to do it justice. US to invest £150 billion in UK, promising thousands of jobs. 3 police officers killed, 2 injured in Pennsylvania shooting. Police kill shooter in one of the deadliest days for Pennsylvania police this century. India's ace athlete Neeraj Chopra is set to play in the Javelin throw final at the World Athletic Championships on Thursday. And moving on, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Harish Parvathaneni, reaffirmed India's commitment to promoting peace, stability and development in Afghanistan during the UN Security Council's quarterly briefing on the country. Well, Ambassador Parvathaneni highlighted India's immediate priorities also of providing humanitarian assistance and implementing capacity-building initiatives for the Afghan people. He stressed the importance of international and regional consensus on Afghanistan and reiterated India's support for the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan.
Monitoring the security situation in Afghanistan. The international community must coordinate efforts towards ensuring that entities and individuals designated by the UN Security Council, the ISIL and Al-Qaeda and their affiliates, including Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed, along with those who facilitate their operations, no longer exploit Afghan territory for terrorist activities. On the political front, India's External Affairs Minister has spoken twice with the Acting Foreign Minister of Afghanistan. We welcome the strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terrorist attack of 22nd April 2025 by the Afghan side. Mr. President, any coherent policy to address a post-conflict situation must combine incentivizing positive behavior and disincentivizing harmful actions.
Well, Dubai's iconic Burj Khalifa lit up on Wednesday night with images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to mark his 75th birthday. The world's tallest building illuminated the city's skyline with portraits of the Indian leader and birthday messages, symbolizing the strengthening partnership between India and the United Arab Emirates. Well, special prayers were held across Sri Lanka to mark the 75th birthday of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, reflecting interfaith goodwill towards the Indian leader. The cross-faith ceremonies highlighted the warmth of people-to-people ties between India and Sri Lanka and the love and respect towards the Indian Prime Minister.
श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को बुद्ध का, धम्म का, संघ का आशीर्वाद, निरोगी रहने के लिए, दीर्घायु के लिए, सुखी रहने के लिए सूत्र पाठ करके आशीर्वाद करेंगे।
Also, the spiritual leader of Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV, prayed for healthy and long life of Prime Minister Modi. And moving on, India's Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu launched the initiative of Yatri Sewa Diwas at airports across the country on Wednesday. The occasion was marked with free medical checkups and health awareness campaigns at the airports, with a special focus on women travellers under the Swasth Nari Sashakt Parivar Abhiyan. Well, the initiative underscores the government's continuous efforts to make air travel more seamless, pleasant and passenger-friendly. Well, the celebrations also extended to community-driven activities such as a blood donation camp, eye checkup for taxi drivers and a tree plantation drive under the theme Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam campaign of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Delhi International Airport too celebrated Passenger Services Day with great enthusiasm across the terminals. The day coincided with the 75th birthday of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and turned Delhi Airport into a festive hub. Passengers were welcomed with flowers, entertained with cultural performances and encouraged to share feedback to further improve services. Yatri Sewa Diwas reflect the government's vision of placing passengers at the heart of aviation, turning airports into true symbols of hospitality, efficiency and inclusivity. And India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will inaugurate Manthan 2025, a two-day national conference organised on the central theme Strategic Roadmap to Viksit Bharat at 2047 in New Delhi today. Well, the conference will focus on the evolving role of the Defence Estates Department in reimagining defence land management, leveraging advanced digital tools and technologies and strengthening governance frameworks and sustainability. Over the course of the days, the conference will witness a series of insightful sessions and lectures where senior government functionaries and domain experts on topics critical to the future of land management in the defence sector. The Defence Estates Department, which manages approximately 18 lakh acres of defence land across the country, plays a pivotal role in land governance, policy formulation and sustainable land use for defence infrastructure. Well, from remote villages to high-tech cities, from shopkeepers to startups, India's digital journey in the past decade has been nothing short of revolutionary. At the heart of this transformation is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Digital India. Well, a vision that has reshaped how 140 crore Indians live, learn, work and dream. Take a look.
In 2014, India had about 25 crore internet connections. Today, that number has grown to nearly 97 crore. Internet data, once among the world's costliest, is now the cheapest in the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has often said that Digital India is not just a government program, it is a people's movement.
When our Prime Minister Modi ji spoke about his dream of making India the global drone hub by 2030. That inspiration gave birth to our company Drone Anatomy. What truly enabled this journey was the ecosystem that had been built. Supportive policies, encouragement for domestic manufacturing, and most importantly, the digital infrastructure that made doing business faster, simpler, and more transparent.
UPI now processes more than 100 billion transactions annually, accounting for nearly half of the world's real-time digital payments. Through direct benefit transfer, 44 lakh crore rupees has been sent directly to the beneficiaries, cutting out middlemen and saving the exchequer nearly 3.5 lakh crore rupees. Small businesses too are reaping benefits. ONDC, the Open Network for Digital Commerce, has crossed 200 million transactions, helping small shopkeepers compete with e-commerce giants. The government's GEM platform has seen sales over 1 lakh crore in just 50 days, empowering 22 lakh sellers, including thousands of women-led MSMEs. India's digital public infrastructure is now a global model. Aadhaar, the world's largest digital ID system, is used for everything from banking to welfare. CoWIN managed the world's biggest vaccination drive, issuing 220 crore vaccination certificates. DigiLocker now has 54 crore users, storing over 775 crore digital documents. India today is among the top 3 startup ecosystem in the world, with over 1.8 lakh startups and more than 110 unicorns. The India AI mission, with an outlay of 10,282 crore, making India a hub for affordable AI research and innovation. As the nation celebrates Prime Minister Modi's birthday, his legacy shines through India's digital revolution, a revolution that connects people, powers progress, and position India as a global leader. Tapush Bhattacharya's report, TD India.
Well, India and the United States marked the start of the new era in their space partnership at an event titled India-USA Space Collaboration, the Frontiers of a Futuristic Partnership, hosted by the Embassy of India in Washington, D.C. Celebrating recent milestones, including the joint NASA-ISRO-NISAR satellite and the Axiom Mission 4, the officials emphasized how decades of collaboration are now setting the stage for exciting missions to the moon and Mars. NASA astronauts Sunita Williams, Nick Hague and Butch Wilmore were joined by India's Gagan Yatri astronaut Shubhanshu Shukla for a panel discussion. Well, Ambassador of India to the United States, Vinay Quatra, described the partnership as a dynamic platform for advancing scientific exploration, technology development and commercial cooperation. And security forces killed 4 Naxals in separate encounters on the Chhattisgarh-Maharashtra border this morning. 2 Naxals were neutralized in Bijapur, Chhattisgarh, while 2 women Naxals were gunned down in Gadchiroli district, Maharashtra. The bodies of all 4 have been recovered. The encounter in Gadchiroli took place near Gatta Jambia along the Kanker, Maharashtra border. Personnel of C-60 commandos and CRPF were on an anti-Naxal operation when the exchange of fire broke out. An AK-47 rifle, a country-made rifle and other Maoist materials were recovered from the site. The identities of the slain women Naxals are yet to be established. And with an aim to expand BSNL's mobile connectivity reach across India, Department of Post and Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited signed strategic MOU for SIM sales and mobile recharge services. Under this agreement, DOP will leverage its unparalleled postal network of over 1.65 lakh post offices for the sale of BSNL SIM cards and mobile recharge services across the country. Also, the vast reach of India Post, which touches almost every village and town in India, will serve as a powerful last-mile channel for BSNL to enhance its presence in both urban and rural geographies. The initiative aims to make BSNL's telecom services more accessible and affordable, particularly for citizens in the remotest parts of the country who often struggle with limited connectivity. By combining BSNL's telecom infrastructure with India Post's nationwide presence, this initiative sets a new benchmark in public sector synergy for citizen-centric service delivery. And the Indian Meteorological Department has forecast continued heavy to very heavy rainfall across several states for the next 2 to 3 days. According to the Met Department, heavy rainfall over Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam and Meghalaya, Bihar, coastal Karnataka, East Uttar Pradesh, Kerala and Mahe, Konkan and Gudhaya, Maharashtra and Uttarakhand. IMD also issued yellow alert with the thunderstorm accompanied with lightning at isolated places over Jammu and Kashmir, Jharkhand, Odisha, Rayalaseema, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Karaikal and West Bengal and Sikkim. Strong surface winds are very likely at isolated places over Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Squally wind with speed reaching 45 km per hour to 55 km per hour, gusting to 65 km per hour is likely to prevail over some parts of the southwest. And Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Sukhwinder Singh Sukhu held a high-level meeting to assess damage from recent torrential rains across the state. He expressed deep concern over the loss of lives and properties and directed all the concerned officers to take prompt action to ensure the safety and well-being of the affected people. He also instructed to reinstate electricity, water supply and schemes and other essential supplies to the affected areas on priority. He added that under the special relief package, the state government is providing 10,000 rupees and 5,000 rupees as rent in urban and rural areas respectively for those who were rendered homeless during the disaster. Also, torrential rain in North Indian state of Uttarakhand's Chamoli has triggered another cloud burst, resulting in heavy debris flow. 6 buildings were reduced to rubble in Kuntri, Langafali ward of Nandanagar. The local administration said that 8 people were missing, while 2 have been rescued. Relief and rescue operations are underway as of now. And India's National Disaster Response Force teams continued flood ops in Kumutai and Morangi revenue circles in Assam's Golaghat. The rescue teams evacuated 250 persons along with 69 livestock and shifted them to safer places. And amid chants of Jai Mata Di, the pilgrimage to Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine atop Trikuta Hills resumed in Jammu and Kashmir's Riyasi district on Wednesday after a suspension of 22 days due to a devastating landslide. The Shrine Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board announced the reopening of the Yatra subject to favourable weather conditions, bringing cheers on the faces of many devotees who were camping in Katra town, the base camp for the pilgrims visiting the shrine. The pilgrimage was suspended on August 26th, hours before a major landslide hit the route leading to the shrine that resulted in the human loss. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. All India Institute of Ayurveda organized a bike rally in New Delhi under the theme Ayurveda for People and Planet to promote health and sustainability. Participants rode from AIIA to the Ministry of Ayush carrying flags with the Ayurveda Day logo. The rally also served as a curtain raiser to the nationwide Ayurveda Day on 23rd of September, symbolizing Ayurveda's message of balance for both people and the planet. Nagaland Chief Minister Nephew Rio launched the Swasth Nari Sashakt Parivar Abhiyan on Wednesday. The campaign, running till October 2nd, focuses on health and nutrition for women, adolescent girls and children. Health camps will offer disease screening, reproductive and child health care, nutrition and menstrual hygiene awareness and mental health support. Uttarakhand Governor Gurmeet Singh and Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami attended Sahakarita Mein Sahkar at Raj Bhavan. 2 MOUs were signed to boost seed production, marketing and exports of farmer cooperatives. The Governor and CM also launched new cooperative bank loan policies. On the occasion, cooperatives and beneficiaries were felicitated under various schemes. Uttarakhand CM Pushkar Singh Dhami attended a handicrafts program in Dehradun. He inspected stalls of traditional products and honoured 11 artisans with the Uttarakhand Shilp Ratna Award. The CM praised local weaving and handicrafts, supported initiatives like Vocal for Local and assured a speedy recovery for recent disaster victims. And still to come on DD India News Hour. New Zealand's economy shrinks more than expected, fueling speculation of steeper rate cuts. Home turned into a cricket museum in Dubai steals the spotlight. And Adan emerges as a cultural hub, attracting visitors globally. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Now. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. And on to some business news now. The Federal Reserve, goaded by the risk of rising unemployment, reduced the interest rates on Wednesday for the first time since December and indicated more cuts would follow to halt any slide in a labour market already experiencing higher joblessness, declining work week and other signs of weakness. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, speaking in a press conference after the US Central Bank lowered its benchmark interest rate by 0.25 percentage point to 4% to 4.25% range and indicated more cuts would follow at meetings in October and December, said the softening job market was now top of the mind for him and his fellow policymakers. Powell's comments cap a steady shift in tone that began over the summer as Fed officials concluded that the higher import tariffs imposed by the Trump administration would not lead to persistent inflation, with faster pace increases expected through the end of the year. But price pressure is also expected to fade after that time, even as monetary policy becomes looser. And global stock markets were choppy on Thursday after the Federal Reserve delivered its first rate cut this year but signaled a measured approach to further monetary policy easing, leaving investors in doubt about the pace of future moves. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan slipped 0.1% as decline in Australia and New Zealand markets weighed on the wider benchmark, while Chinese stocks veered between gains and losses. There were signs of strength in some markets. The US dollar dropped to the lowest since February 2022 at 96.224 against a basket of major peers immediately after the rate decision, but sprang back to 0.1% higher on Thursday to 97.089. Gold prices edged up 0.1% to $3,662.33 per ounce, recovering from a dip after hitting a record high on Wednesday. Oil prices declined, with Brent crude last down 0.5% at $67.62 per barrel. While New Zealand's economy shrank more than expected in the second quarter as construction remained in decline and global uncertainty weighed, increasing expectations of a steeper rate cut in October. Officials' data out on Thursday showed gross domestic product fell 0.9% in the second quarter from the prior quarter, worse than analysts and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand's forecast of 0.3% fall. Well, the economy has been further hit by a decision by the United States in April to levy future import tariffs on products from a range of countries, including New Zealand. The tariff has since been set at 15% above the 10% rate for goods from neighbouring Australia. And Brazil's central bank held its benchmark interest rate steady at 15% on Wednesday as inflation remains high amid global uncertainty over US economic policy. The bank has kept the interest rate at 15%, one of the highest levels in the world since July, ending a streak of 7 straight hikes. The bank's monetary committee cited the uncertain global environment due to the economic policy and the economic outlook in the United States, calling for caution from emerging market economies. It said the decision was in line with the strategy of bringing inflation back to the target. And big news coming in. India has taken a note of the signing of a strategic mutual defence pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. And with the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson saying the government was aware that this development, which formalises a long-standing arrangement between the two countries, has been under consideration. We will study the implications of this development for national security as well as for regional and global stability. The government remains committed to protecting India's national interests and ensuring comprehensive national security in all domains. Well, the big news coming in. India has reacted on the Pak-Saudi Defence Pact against aggression. India has taken a note of the signing of strategic mutual defence pact between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, and with the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson saying the government was aware that this development, which formalises a long-standing arrangement between the two countries, has been under consideration. Also, we'll study the implications of this development for national security as well as for regional and global stability. The government remains committed to protecting India's national interests and ensuring comprehensive national security in all domains. And for more, we have Akshay Dongre joining us on the phone line on this. Well, Akshay, the government says it was aware that this development is in line and it has been under consideration. Could you tell us more about this?
Well, that's all the information we have at this point in time, Deepakshi, because this is a big move and the government has clearly said that it was aware that this long-standing arrangement between the two countries has been under consideration. Now it has been finalized. So India will, study the implications of this arrangement between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. and especially given the fact that Pakistan has been instigating terror activities to which India had taken offensive action inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So that was India's right as well. And now under the changed circumstances, especially the things that are transpiring in the West Asian region with, Qatar being struck by the Israeli attacks when it tried to target Hamas leadership in Doha. That happened, however, given that a lot of countries are trying to formalize more and more defense pacts, so it is just one of them. And India will clearly read the fine prints as far as this arrangement is concerned, especially because Saudi Arabia is a very close ally of India as well. So perhaps all it can bring to the table at this point in time from what we are considering is some control over the terror infrastructure inside Pakistan, because if Saudi Arabia is signing a defense deal with Pakistan, then if there are any kind of offensive actions by Pakistan or by Pakistan's proxy terrorist organization, then any kind of action will be against terrorism and not the state of Pakistan. So India has maintained that earlier as well, and we stick to the same line as far as our retaliation is concerned to terror activities, because we did not act against Pakistan as a state. Had we wanted, we could have struck the military areas, in the first wave of attacks, but we did not. We only limited our action to terror outfits and terror infrastructure, and if that continues, India will clearly have a similar kind of reaction. So there is nothing that changes into that, but certainly there will be a pressure of Saudi Arabia now on Pakistan to not let terrorism flourish in their boundaries.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for that analysis. In fact, that was our correspondent Akshay Dongre telling us about the Pakistan-Saudi defense pact against aggression, and he was telling us about the implications, and the Indian government has taken a serious note of this. All right, that's all for this edition of DT India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DT India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DT India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DT India News Hour.